I finished watching episode 5 of the Fallout show for the second time. This episode deals with truth and trusting people, individuals and groups. That's evident in the first scene. Maximus and Thaddeus, they're triumphant. Thaddeus is willing and enthusiastic about being branded. After the branding, Thaddeus encourages Maximus to confide in him. Maximus shows his face. Thaddeus, despite professing his undying loyalty to Maximus, doesn't want to go along with deceiving the Brotherhood. Not because he hates Maximus. He respects their rules. He echoes the OG Titus when he tells Maximus that the Brotherhood is going to kill him. So Maximus, without hesitation, he sets out to kill Thaddeus. Thaddeus, for his part, he's got the key to the suit, so he locks Maximus and leaves the area with the gear bag, the target's head, and the target's dog. The next day, Lucy, she saves Maximus from those roaches that are probing his suit, and despite her recognizing him as saving her back in Philly, she tells him that she's had a rough week. She doesn't have a choice because she starts to vomit. Maximus tells her that he's got medicine in his suit. If he doesn't save her, they're both going to die. I don't know which is worse, radiation sickness or being trapped in his suit. Lucy's trust in Maximus pays off, but at the same time, Maximus doesn't quite trust Lucy. He doesn't tell her his real name. He doesn't tell her his objective. Lucy is smart. She deduces that he's after the head of the target that everyone seems to be after. She comes up with a deal. Of course, she doesn't know that Maximus is, for all intents and purposes, a pariah. Even though they don't know his secret yet, if they do, he would likely be outcast. We see another instance of trust being tenuous. Probably the most memorable scene of the episode. It's that standoff on the bridge between Lucy and Maximus and those two strangers who turn out to be fiends. Maximus, he's savvy. He's just been, I wouldn't say betrayed, but he's just been in a situation in which him placing his absolute trust in someone has put him in a worse situation. So he tells those two people on the bridge that they're not armed. Lucy, still being naive, she actually acknowledges it earlier in the scene. She tells them that they are armed. She tries to anyway. The two strangers say they're not armed either, but Lucy intervenes. She tries to come up with a solution in which there's no death. So they shuffle along. Great music. Ladyfingers by Herb Alpert. I've been listening to it all week. It almost works until the female stranger recognizes the Pip-Boy in Lucy's arm. Maybe it's ironic that the Pip-Boy has gained her an ally in Maximus, but it's also nearly cost them their lives. Maximus, with a quick reaction, I don't know if there's an actual perk in the games that grants you heightened accuracy with pistols and quick draw capability, but he's also killed that bear. Maximus, in this episode, he's had 3 separate encounters in which trust has been tenuous, as I've said. We witness instances of people trusting groups of people, like organizations. Thaddeus is drinking the Kool-Aid in the Brotherhood of Steel. You could argue that he doesn't actually betray Maximus. Their first loyalty is to the Brotherhood. Maximus even still trusts the Brotherhood. If he didn't have that level of trust in their sense of forgiveness, he wouldn't be so determined to return to them. But we're also seeing trust among the Vault Dwellers. They trust the abstract notion of democracy, electoral process, the overseer whom they elect, the ways of doing things. Lucy, even though she's no longer in the vault, she still trusts the things that she's learned in the vault, the golden rule, the notion, the belief, the goal of Reclamation Day. She tells Maximus that's what's kept them going. Starting in the prior episode, even going back before that, Norm's trust in the vault philosophy is starting to erode. The female counselor and now overseer, she's made to be less trustworthy. Same with Stephanie. I remember her mentioning that she's come from Vault 31. I don't remember Betty mentioning or anybody else mentioning that she's from Vault 31. It seems like there's something sinister. Norm and Chet realized that the people in Vault 32 have been trying to get into Vault 31 for some reason. Looking back, it kind of makes sense that they're not of the same stock as the Vault 33 dwellers. They're more pragmatic. Stephanie is the one who tells Norm that she believes his philosophy of eye for an eye when it comes to the Raiders. Betty she's not standing at the podium vying for control of the assembly like Reg and Woody. She's seated, almost rolling her eyes. In this episode, the audience learns that the Overseer has almost always been from Vault 31. I'm starting to believe that Vault 31 doesn't really exist or function the way that the other vaults do. Maybe the people who claim to be from Vault 31 aren't from there, or maybe they don't spend their whole time in the vault. There has to be people traveling between the vaults and the surface, and that's probably why someone like Wilzig would know so much about Vault 33 and the people in it like Lucy. The secondary theme, irony, dramatic irony to be specific. The dramatic irony is an instance in which a character says or expresses knowledge of something, and that turns out to be the opposite of what's actually true. But that character doesn't know it, only the audience does. An example would be Maximus telling Lucy that he had thought monsters lived in the vaults. And Lucy tells her, no, it's people like her. And the dramatic irony is that monsters do exist in the vaults, or some of the vaults. Maybe not literal monsters, but you've got people who are brutal. Lucy's steadfast belief in the value of vaults leads to another instance of dramatic irony at the very end. She tells Maximus that they're in the best place that they could possibly be, and that's another vault. Based on what the audience has seen and learned so far, vaults are not necessarily the best place that they could be. One thing that I appreciate, the scene in which Maximus and Lucy are walking. Lucy tells Maximus that she's aware of the Great War, the history of America, leading up to it, the centuries of history, but she has no notion of what's happened in the 200 years since the Great War. It really highlights just how insulated her particular vault has been from human history. We, as humans, we are blessed and cursed with the knowledge that we have finite lifespans. That's why transfer of information and knowledge is so important to us. On my second viewing, I noticed the ruins of the library. I don't know if it's intentional, but libraries, along with galleries, archives, and museums, they function as what people call memory institutions. They facilitate that transfer of knowledge. That allows us to know our histories. The show deals with some thought-provoking things. It's easy to kind of dismiss it as being lighthearted, but told and presented in a different way, this story could be really bleak. It reminds me of The Road, a novel by Cormac McCarthy. It's been adapted into a movie starring Viggo Mortensen. It exists in the same thematic realm of this show. It's more serious. It kind of examines what it would be like to live in a world like Fallout, up on the surface, that is. I like this episode. I didn't find it to drag on at all. I think definitely the shorter length helps to keep things moving along. The mystery of the vaults, that's really compelling. Looking at the thumbnails for the episode previews, I'm guessing the next episode is going to be very flashback heavy, going more into detail about the context leading up to the catastrophic events. That's it for this episode. Looking forward to the next one.